Discussing multicultural literacy is in great demand as we enter the 21st century. As educators, we are the conductor of knowledge. We are part of the student's stepping stone to be a better citizen. I am Jhana Mira Carillo, and here is all you need to know about multicultural literacy. Multicultural literacy consists of the skills and ability to identify the creators of knowledge and their interests, to uncover the assumptions of knowledge, to view knowledge from diverse ethnic and cultural perspectives, and of course, to use knowledge too. The language arts curriculum presents an extraordinary opportunity for sharing powerful multicultural perspectives. Therefore, multicultural literature opens up the world, allowing all of our students to hear voices both different from and similar to their own, both from within their own community and beyond. Powerful literature can transport students into a world where they can feel the joys and struggles of others, and where they can inhabit the cultural landscape of the characters they live in. Our ability to take our students on these journeys has been greatly enhanced in recent years by an explosion of multicultural literature for children and young adults. Our challenge today is to prepare ourselves to this journey and especially to know what to pack for it. Too often, we pack the old classics without making room for the new. As teachers, how can we teach multicultural literacy? Here are 7 ways to embrace multiculturalism in the classroom. 1 is to celebrate different cultural festivals. One of these is to attempt to learn a bit more about the different backgrounds of pupils in our class. Also, including a variety of books in our classroom book collection is one step as well. Holding a food fair to celebrate different dishes from around the world and to set presentation projects for students on a culture or nation. But what are the multicultural literacy skills? Let's give a good explanation for this. It refers to skills that involves when we are uncovering bias in regards to culture, as well as the ability to take different perspectives to gain a more humane perspective. For instance, it can be connected to language arts, where students can research the chosen culture and communicate their findings. But how does multiculturalism affect our education system? Multicultural education exposes students to the different cultural values and beliefs and helps to create understanding and acceptance of differences between people. By being culturally conscious, teachers, without any bias, can help the students assimilate without having to compromise their cultural identity. After hearing all of this, let us know what is the difference of multicultural classrooms to other classrooms. Multicultural classrooms are the classrooms that embrace diversity and incorporate ideas, beliefs, or people from different countries and different cultural backgrounds. Several cultural perspectives are put together to enable students to get a truly international education. Now, as teachers, how do we teach cultural diversity? Cultural diversity in the classroom, learn about your own culture. Learn about your students' culture. We need to understand our students' linguistic traits. We should use this knowledge to inform or to develop our teaching. We should use materials such as books to foster cross-cultural understanding. We should know more about our students' home and school relationships. Now here is a fact. Multicultural literature is a piece of literature where the main character and the story itself revolves around a person who is of one of the major minority groups such as the African American, the Latino, the Native American, and even Asian Americans, and also women, handicapped individuals, and individuals with different sexual preference is part of it. Now today, its use in the classroom has been suggested and praised. There are many forms of this type of literature available for the use in the classroom today. So involving multicultural literature in the classroom is important, not only to the overall culture of the classroom, but to the individual student. We now go on through the main goals of multicultural literature, which is to increase the self-worth in students, also the achievement of educational equity, cultural pluralism, a sense of empowerment, and the ability to work in harmony with other students, as well as teaching from a multicultural perspective. In using this particular type of literature in the classroom, there are such benefits that can be taken from it. Now from these mentioned benefits, most prevalent benefits is that it will change the overall culture in the classroom. It is said that multicultural literature also creates a community within the classroom because students learn that not only the differences tolerated, they are also embraced. Now this will help to cut down on the bullying and teaching that takes place in the classroom. Students will be better and will be able to work harmoniously in groups. This is according to Bowles 2006. In multicultural literature, students can and will become more unified. This kind of unification process happens through students that read books about different races and subcultures. This will allow students to learn empathy and relate to their peers or classmates. Now with regards to being empathic, it allows students to open up and begin to trust each other. This in turn will now let students to learn about themselves and their own background and culture. Interdisciplinary usage of multicultural texts. One of the major tenets of being an effective teacher is being able to find opportunities to incorporate different aspects of students' learning and literacy across the curriculum. This is the same with what we call the multicultural literacy. Now for an example, poetry in language arts, issues of social studies in social studies, the use of historical fiction, recipes from different cultures for each measurement in math, songs and art forms native to different cultural groups in the arts. And the list continues. Using different interpretations of the same story, like for example, Cinderella, can also allow students to develop skills in comparing and contrasting, allowing them to learn about varying cultural issues and understand how each Cinderella story adopts a pair of glass shoes in its own context. Now for EYE 2015, there are few other approaches in using multicultural literature. One of it is open mind portraits, wherein students illustrate a character's face from a story and write the character's feelings and thoughts. Another one is sketch to stretch, wherein students draw sketches that illustrate important messages and ideas from the story and share their drawings that reflect what the story meant to them. Another one is double entry journals, wherein the students write quotes from the story in the left column and reflections on the quotes in the right column. Another one is interactive writing, wherein students write their thoughts and reflections about the topic or the story by interacting with their teacher and peers. Lastly, storyboards, wherein students select important events from the story and illustrate the sequence of those events in a graphic organizer. Now today, educators are expected to be able to make subject matter culturally relevant and include students from diverse groups and backgrounds. Also to help our students to examine personal biases that may affect their own learning. A good foundation in multicultural education can help. Now here are some examples of how. Number one is multiculturalism allows us to examine bias. Now for this, National Board Certified Teacher and Associate Professor at UH Manyowa College of Education, Dr. Christy Kessler, shares how this type of education helps students broaden their view. The significance of multicultural education is that it gives individuals the opportunity to examine their own social and cultural biases, which break down those biases and change their perspective within their own setting. Now, when a teacher is prepared to include differing viewpoints and philosophy in the curriculum, the students can experience place and perspective at the same time. So giving them a broader view of the world in terms that makes sense to them locally. Disability and inclusion. While we typically think social and cultural biases are limited to race and ethnicity, they are not. They include the way students view people with disabilities as well. Now, educators want to also be prepared to counter the negative perceptions of disability in their own classroom, as well as consider ways to provide for collaboration, access, and even procurement while empowering the individuals with disabilities condition for their self-advocacy and inclusion. Now, if you are already an educator, you could consider professional development coursework that addresses issues of inclusion and provides access to current research on what is working for people with disabilities. Now, if the study of disability is brand new to you, consider an introductory course, such as the Introduction to Disability and Diversity Studies. Now, the next one is post-colonialism is here to stay. Through travel and research, educators like Shiara Logley is able to bring a world of experience to the teacher education programs that they serve. Now, as colonialism becomes a part of the past, there is a great need to recognize, understand, and integrate indigenous knowledge, even practices and values into the classroom. Programs that offer educators the opportunity to study and teach from their own and others' viewpoints are crucial as we transition to a post-colonial world. Now, just like for example in the colonial world, most industrialized nations held the viewpoint that their way of seeing the world was the right way. Educators who understand post-colonialism are willing to embrace different points of view and help students appreciate their value. Did any of the classes you had in high school or college or your teacher education program include a reading of Lao Tse? Should they have? How might such a reading challenge the thinking of future educators and better prepare them to present differing points of view to their students? Leaders in education who want to understand the foundations of education are asking questions like this and doing the research needed to answer them. Peace can partner with diversity. Banks further defines one of the most important goals of multicultural education as helping all students to acquire the knowledge, attitudes, and skills needed to function effectively in a pluralistic democratic society and to interact, negotiate, and communicate with people from diverse groups in order to create a civic and moral community that works for the common good. We may not initially think of education as a path to peace, but teacher training programs can prepare educators to deliver curriculum that supports the cause of peace through the tolerance and understanding from a cultural perspective. Colleges often seek to prepare educators at all levels to contribute to a just, diverse, and democratic society. Many universities conduct research in peace education in K-12 as well as hosting regular events which explore the topic of peace as it relates to education and educators. While there is much work to be done on this front, multicultural education and literacy can be a practical means of promoting peace and acceptance of diversity at the classroom level today.